What's up guys, it's Zara from Harv's Corner. We're actually doing starting a new playlist involving a lot of the mods we have for Ark Survival Evolved. So I figured we would start the video out with something that I've played a lot of and that I really like, but we're going to go through and pick and pull a lot of mods. If you're familiar with Ark, you're familiar that there is a huge mod following and there's plenty of things to enjoy and take a look at. So we're going to kind of quickly go over through what the Steampunk mod offers, a little bit about how it works, a little bit of tricks that I've learned throughout the way. So if there's anything that I'm missing, please feel free to comment down there. And if you like what we're doing, please like, subscribe, comment, share it out, let people know what we're doing. If you don't like it, tell me why you don't like it. Constructive criticism is always welcome, just don't be a dick. Alright, so the Steampunk mod offers structures, it offers armor, it offers weapons, it offers its own sort of actual tames, I guess I should say technically, and then also adds its own, like the farming is different. A little bit more components you'll have to mine to use some of the stuff, but it has a little bit of everything. What I would always tell people is that if you don't like the Steampunk mod, try it out, because honestly I think this is one of the mods out there that has a little bit for everybody, even if you're not necessarily a fan of the steampunk feel. A lot of these mods have pretty good uses regardless of kind of what your tastes are. But anyway, we'll go through it all. So let's go through some of the basic building stuff. It's pretty much what we have set up in this section right here. So we're going to start with just a basic foundation wall ceiling stuff. So this is your basic copper foundations. Nothing too crazy. That's pretty much it. This is what you're looking at. And I have a bunch of them connected out here. They have the triangle foundations as well. They stack. So they're a little S+, S+ foundations, if you're familiar, stack pretty well. These stack well, but you have to be in there's definitely like a sweet spot when you're placing them to get them to stack on top of each other, but they definitely do. So no worries there. One of the other foundations we have is the copper graded foundation. These, you have that mesh that you can kind of see under, which is pretty neat. And the other foundation you have kind of looks like your original one, but these are actually light up foundations where you can walk on them, and they light up when you walk across them. Now, with these guys, I have noticed that if you have quite a lot of them, it can mess with your FPS, but it depends on what kind of type of machine you're running to, obviously. But definitely neat. And there's actually a disclaimer on these guys when you go to craft them that'll tell you that, like, a lot of them can lead to some performance issues. So those are your foundations. So three, technically four with the triangle that you have to pick from. So all your wall sections, these are all too high, just so you can kind of get a reference of, they stack on top of each other and they're a little bit taller. But this is actually your copper pipe wall. You can kind of see through it. It's kind of cool. Really neat for kind of interior use or decorative sort of use, but it still works like a wall. This is your reinforced copper wall. Just looks a little bit different. It's a bit more decorative. That's pretty much it. Most of these look the same on both sides regardless. This is your standard copper plain wall that matches that plain copper foundation. You actually have the copper graded walls, just like you have the copper graded foundations. You can see through them. You have these guys, which are pretty neat. The decorative glass walls, so it almost looks like a warped glass a little bit. These are I don't know why it's actually saying it's a copper wall. That's a little weird. Anyway, so once you have power run, you can we'll go over how power works in this too. You can turn these off and on. So on one side of the wall, you have three lights, on or off, and then back on. On the other side of these walls, you have the little moving gears. So you'll see this gears a lot with the steampunk feel and the gears. You'll see that kind of everywhere, but I like these little touches. I like these little moving parts. They're pretty neat. This is your standard just glass wall, copper glass wall. And this is the stained glass wall that you can actually change the style on. There's a couple different styles you can kind of pick from and see what you like, what you don't. Most of them decorative, but from what I've gathered and used, they all pretty much have the same resistance. They all treat it as metal structures as far as what can hurt them and what can't. Ceiling. Oh, so this guy, let's do this guy first. It's a little weird. The copper hall floor. So this bottom part is what snaps, like the rest of the ceilings do, but it protrudes up and it's decorative. It's definitely decorative. You can't actually snap things to like the top of this. This is great for like roof caps if you don't want just a standard flat roof or something like that. You can definitely play around with that. This is the reinforced copper ceiling. So a little bit different than normal copper ceiling. This plain copper ceiling. And we have the graded copper ceiling that matches all the graded stuff. That's pretty much it as far as the ceilings go. Moving on over, these are the wedges, the slope walls right and left to mount the rooftops on. Moving into the rooftops, you have two different slanted options. You have the copper fin, and then you have the standard copper roof. All right, and these are your triangles, the sloped triangle roof rather. And it's just a kind of a one size fits. It's not normal. It's not a slope triangle and then a slope incline. It's just one thing. It does both of them. But you can kind of see in the way I place them, they kind of snap around just like the normal triangle rooftop should. All right, moving over here. These are the decorative walls up top. I just did it so I could show you the doors. So there's two types of regular doors, and this is pretty much it as far as your doors go. You have this door here. That's just a manual open and close. Now this one looks identical except that you see that little motor up there? And that's because it's an automated door. So this one actually auto opens and closes by you. But that's pretty much the only difference between the two. What else we got up here? So let's beam over to the pillars and then kind of come back through everything else. So a couple of your pillar sizes. So you have this really neat decorative copper bubbling pillar, which is still used like a normal pillar, can still support things. It just looked cooler. Really, you got your standard copper pipe. This is too tall actually, so that's two of them on top of each other. And these are the copper wedges. The copper wedges are cool. I think really it's just aesthetics. What you're making, what you're building, to kind of what looks the best. I tend, when I build with the steampunk stuff, I tend to combine it a lot with the metal and even sometimes the text structures. You get some interesting looks out of it. The wedge can also be used to fill in certain gaps that you might have. It seems to work well for that too, between walls and corners and things. This is your railing. This is the copper railing, which I really like. It's not, that straight up and down railing, kind of curves out at the top, and these stack on top of normal railings just like, all the other railings do. Here, storage lockers. These are just standard storage lockers. I think these guys have 500 slots on them. Yep, and they're stackable, so you can that's one snapped on top of another, but you can snap them to the side just like you would with, Structures Plus, snapping storage crates or vaults or whatever next to each other. It works pretty much the same way. Moving over, we got a couple of statues, little decorative statues. This guy looks really, really important. Sophisticated scholar holding his paper. Yep. This is also a small statue of Submarine, which I'll show you a bit later on. Your stairwells, there's three different types. Actually, four. Yes, four. Sorry, can't count. So you have your railing on one side, and then this middle one has no railings. You have the stairs with the railing on the other side, and then the stairs with both railings on the other side. So you don't have to make the railings separately and clamp them. You just make the whole thing and place it all at one time. That is that. So starting with some of the furniture. So this is the table, the two tables you have. You have your oval table and you have your round table. I like them. I like them a lot. The only thing I don't like is sometimes I think comparatively to the chairs, it sits a little low, or so the chair sits low, or the table sits high, one or the other. But other than that, I really like it. I think it looks really cool. This is actually one of the decorative chairs you can put down. A couple of the decorative storage stuffs, you have just different nightstands and dressers, is pretty much how you have. The storage space in these guys isn't too big. Even with the largest one, you're only getting 15 slots, so it's not made to be a mass storage option. For little things, artifacts, something like that, or to hide, your really cool stuff, or just put it off to the side somewhere, I guess it's okay. But pretty much aesthetics is what you're pulling these things for. The barber chair is pretty neat. Sits a little bit higher, you kind of rest over there. This is the bed, just like a double or king size, I guess. King, maybe queen. I don't know. I'm really good at guesstimating that shit. Again, that steampunk feel. This mannequin, I have no idea what the hell this thing is for. I've never understood it. It just kind of hangs out. You can't really do anything with it. You pick it up. That's pretty much it. But yeah. Anyway, chair and double chair. Why this says double chair, I don't know. So it's definitely like, I feel like that's triple. Like one, two, whatever. But those are your standard chair options. So that's really just, this is really just your basic structures, your furniture, you know, that stuff is pretty much over here. On the other side of this wall, there are two other little add-ons. You have the glass, or the copper glass canopy that kind of clips over doorways. You'll notice this top part is what clips. This top part, it tries to clip up there. Just be aware of that when you're wary of that when you're trying to place it. And then this is actually the copper glass canopy walkway, and these will clip on top of each other, so you can have a cool little walkway pretty much wherever. But they fit nicely over the doors, but they'll clip the walls essentially, so you just gotta have to watch what you're doing. But that should be everything in this little section. I am going to show you this billboard real quick, and that's should be the end of it. Yep, turn it on and off. So this is it's kind of about the same size as, you know, your metal billboard or your wooden billboard. It just looks different. So you got the lights across the top. You can still write in the center of this, and then on the back it has all these cool little moving gears, which I thought was neat. Yeah, that's pretty much your basic building stuff. So what I'm going to do right now, I'm actually going to bypass these two big guys and go straight to the gates, work my way down that way, and we're going to come back to these two. No, I can't wait. We're not doing it. Come here. So this is the thing, the guy with the stuff. This is the Steam bot. Yeah, that's what it is. I think it's 0. No, it's not 0. O. Yep, O turns this guy on. So they run on oil. We'll talk about how you make that oil later on. But you basically put the oil inside of him, jump in, turn him on. He walks, he runs, he melees, he jumps, and if he has cannonballs, which this one does, he will fire cannonballs. Yep, that's it. That's how I feel about it too. Pretty cool. I like the way he looks. I like how he performs. He actually does like a sidestep maneuver too, which is pretty neat. He's not terribly fast, but he's good. When you level up this guy, if you notice, the only thing you get to level up is his melee damage. So everything else is pretty much staying. You can't really change anything on it, but you can level up his melee damage. The other option, and because, let me go back in here and turn them off, or else it's going to use that gas. You can actually cryopod these guys. So any of the stuff, any of these like quote-unquote tames, you can actually just cryopod them, so you don't have to, you know, keep them out too. So that was an interesting thing that I kind of found randomly by accident. Over here is the mechanical Rhino. So this guy runs off of the same kind of oil, and he gets a lot more different level up stats as well. So if you see, he has health, stamina, weight, melee damage. I upgraded his health a little while back, so that's probably why that's so damn horrible. But he'll actually repair himself on his own, which is kind of notice if you see that the health trickles up just like it normally would. But you can upgrade everything on this guy, and he's pretty decent. He's not terribly slow. He'll move faster than a Rhino for sure. He's a bit more agile, but fun little tame to use. So anyway, so now we're going to start here and work my way down. So this is the Behemoth Wall. It's not a Behemoth Gate, it's a Behemoth Wall. This is all one piece. Pre-make this thing, which I love. Gone are the days of making a foundation, stacking all the walls. Making a foundation, stacking all the walls. F all that. So this is the Behemoth Gate. Now the reason why I have this one over here is so that you can see what I'm talking about here. So this is Behemoth Wall by itself, right? This is the gate frame and the gate. So you come and walk up and I can show you how that opens up. It just looks so fucking cool. The gears moving at the top. It's just a lot of moving parts, and it's just done really well. This whole mod, honestly, I haven't seen anything on here that I didn't think was pretty top notch. But the Behemoth walls actually snap in place. So if you see what I'm talking about here, you see how this kind of bows in over here? This guy actually snaps in place, and you can pick any of these up. Let me pick it up and go find it somewhere and place it back down for you so we can see. So yeah, that's how it looks on its own. But if you're building these wall sections, you can place them free like you would there, and they'll snap to each other, and you can snap them inside of here. So I like it. Like I said, gone are the days of making the foundations and a bunch of even the large wall sections up and having to work with all that. Nope, you just drop the whole thing. It's themey, it works. I forgot how much it rains on this fucking map. Yeah. But those are your big gates. That's your Behemoth Gate and your Behemoth Wall solution. This is the normal dino, the standard type dino gate that we would normally see, which is the gate and the gate frame. You hit the button, that's pretty little doop 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 doop. Awesome. I'd like to see a wall option for this, to be honest with you. I think that's one of the very few things that I could critique about this mod. I wish there was a matching wall section for this compared to those. I think that'd be interesting to see as well. Scrolling over this way. So we're gonna go over this general section right here. That's what we're gonna go over. So that involves some of the lighting in the back right, and this is basically your power and that little funky little object. I'll show you how that works too. This is a little scattered around. There's not a huge order to any of this, but yeah. So I'm going to talk about this guy first. So this is a combination of two things. This is the steam-powered coil generator and the steam-powered press. So this one section here with all the gears flowing in the rod is one section, and then this other guy clips to the side of it. Now, this is actually creating your power. You'll run cords from it like you would a normal generator, and they actually have the Steampunk electrical cable that you can do that. The cables bend around, you put outlets on them just like you normally would. Some of them are shaped a little bit differently or run a little differently, but they all work the same. If you're familiar with our electricity stuff, then you know. The press mounts to the side of this. Now, the press has to be irrigated. It's powered by water. So as long as there's water in the press, it spins a generator. The generator runs. It also creates steam. You'll use steam to actually use it in some of your other steampunk stations later on. Now, the oil press, or the steam-powered press, can do a couple of things for you. It can create oil for you over time if you place the stuff in there. Crap, hide, and spoiled meat. And then it also, from pure water, creates steam for you. Now, as long as this thing has water in it, it will keep running. That's how it works. This guy is one of the other critiques I have. Irrigating this thing can be a pain in the ass. I've tried irrigating it like you would irrigate like an indie cooker. You know, like place the pipe down first and then try to snap it to it. I've actually had more luck irrigating it like you would irrigate a crop plot, like to have the tap over top of it and water draining into it. But it seems like if you don't hit it on the exact right angle, it can be a little finicky. The easiest solution to this guy is because it doesn't go through water very quickly at all. Even on official settings, it doesn't. It's very efficient. Grab a canteen a couple of times, fill it up, throw it in there, and remote use the water inside of it. You won't have to worry about it for a very long time. And you just walk away from it, so you don't need to run the pipes for it. Anyway, this is basically your standard generator, but like I said, you're going to want this guy because it's the only way of getting steam for you. And you're going to need steam for a couple of key objects, especially if you're using all of the steampunk sort of style building and everything. I'll get to this guy in a second, but I figured while we're on the subject of power, I'm going to talk to you about probably one of my most favorite things. Trike on a treadmill. That's how this goes. All right, so this is the trike power the dyno power generator. What this is it's a trike on top of a thinger. Usually there's more going on here, which is why I think I messed something up. There you go. Yep, trike on. He's walking. Now, it's kind of big, so, I mean, right away you're like, all right, it's kind of large. How does this work? So when you build this thing, it does not come with a trike on it. You need to tame a trike. It doesn't matter what level, doesn't matter if you have a saddle, doesn't matter gender, none of that crap matters. And also, you don't have to worry about feeding it, you don't have to worry about taking care of it. Basically, you grab the trike, let me turn this off so I can show you. You grab the trike, you'll lead the trike up on top here. This is one of my tame trikes. So you'll lead the trike up on top of this guy, and then just stop him there. Just whistle stop him or whatever. And then you just walk up to this guy, and let me turn my head back on so you can see what I'm talking about here. So you go back up to it and hit latch. When you hit latch, depending on what you're running here, If you have a saddle on it, it's going to go away. And if the trike's colored a certain way, sometimes it'll just go to a standard color. It's no big deal. As long as it's doing this, then it's working. The coolest thing about this is that it's wireless power. Just like a tech generator. It's wireless power. You don't have to run cables. You don't have to do any of that. I don't have to put gasoline in it. I don't have to feed the trike. I don't have to do anything. I place it, put the trike on there, latch it, and walk away. Now, sometimes when you're placing new devices down, it'll say they're unpowered. If you just walk up to this guy and unlatch him, you'll have the option to, and then just relatch him again. It'll kind of reset it, and then it'll go back to working fine. The range on this is pretty awesome. So the lights that you're seeing over here, that fan that's spinning, from here, and then, all the way over to, where the lights were at on this wall, it has a substantially larger range. Essentially, anything that you see during this video that's powered by electricity, this thing is powering. So it's a huge, large range. Now, the other cool thing about this, and this kind of goes out to the people if you're not a fan of the Steampunk mod, maybe you don't want to make a steampunk building, you don't want to use the tech. This is nice because it powers all of the regular structures too. Your refrigerators, your turrets, everything. Everything that's normally electrically powered, this guy will actually do, to include a lot of the tech structures. So, no more throwing all the element in the generator. Now you can do what you want with it. It is super useful. Super, super, super useful. One of my most favorite things about this mod, to be honest with you, it's just so much easier. So much easier. So, working my way over, we'll finally talk about this little guy. This is a cryo chamber. I'll be honest, I like it. I see the purpose of it, but it seems kind of, I don't know, cheaty to me. Basically, let's say you die out in the middle of nowhere. You spawn back at your base. You run up to this cryo chamber. You get inside of it, and it beams your bag back to you, basically, so you don't have to go find your bag. I like it aesthetically because I think it looks cool, but gameplay, I'm like, it's a kind of a crutch, but I guess it depends on what type of server you're running, something for everybody there. So this is some of the lighting we have options, which is actually a lot of options with this. This is one of my favorite ones, this little guy here. Well, there ain't nothing little about it. The copper lamppost, you can turn it off and it kind of sinks down, and when you turn it on, you hear the hydraulic noise. Doesn't give off a crazy amount of light, but it looks super cool. You have a standard little lamppost here that you can turn off and on. You have the wall light, those two. You have a couple of ceiling mounted and just about anywhere else mounted lights. This gear, the fan here, you can actually clip this fan to a wall. You can clip it to a ceiling. You can clip it to just about anything. So you can have a fan, or you can put propellers on your wall, however you want to do it. This is the glow ball light, so it's just a standard light that hangs from the ceiling. These two lights, the gear light and the round light, can be placed just like the fan can. It can be placed on walls, on ceilings, on the ground, like pretty much wherever. These are even more versatile as far as where you can place them. And they give off quite a lot of light. Definitely no slouches in that department. Two banners you can have. You have like, the kind of like the sagging banner a little bit, and then the regular banner. The reason why I built this up here is that you can see another building structure is actually these balcony pieces. This whole thing, the railing, the little pad, everything is all one big piece. Very useful for balloons, we'll talk about those later, and or just small flyers really to land on here and park. It's pretty nice on a rooftop, and it looks really neat. So let's start with let's get into the crafting stuff, which is pretty much this area right here, which is a lot, right? Looks like a lot. It is a lot. So I kind of separated this area is more of like the kitchen, cooking, sort of refrigerator stuff, while this is more of your crafting, like actual like turning stuff into other stuff, So let's sit over here. I guess we can start here and kind of work our way around. We can talk about this guy real quick, even though he's not really related. This is just an oil storage tank. It just looks different. It's an oil storage tank. It stores oil. It's the only point of it. It holds a crap ton of oil. 2,000 stacks of oil. But yeah, that's pretty much all it does. This is your steam pot cooker, which is basically your indie cooker. You have to irrigate it. And that's Yeah, that's pretty much it. So 2 extra things you can make out of these guys. You can make boiled dinosaur eggs, which you just throw dinosaur eggs inside of it and turn them into boiled dinosaur eggs, which I think they last a little bit longer and you can eat them. Unit kibble is an option that they created. You have to add all these different things in there, but essentially it works as a one-stop shop for kibble. Now I can't say that it works on everything, but I can say that it works on a lot of the small stuff that I've tried it on. It's supposed to act as any type of kibble, like whatever you feed. When you knock any animal out, any creature out, and you throw the unit kibble in its inventory, it's treated as what that kibble is that one needs. So, hugely useful, and you don't need the egg farm. Well, not really. I mean, you need dinosaur eggs, but dodos. You don't have to make all the different tames just to harvest them for their eggs. The Steam Icebox, it's a fridge. You irrigate it. You can attach it. Yeah, you just want to add water, and you can remote use water in it like you would from like a canteen, or you can just irrigate it. Irrigating is the easiest way to do it with these guys. A lot of these structures, I think the only thing that I thought was hard to irrigate was that oil press. Everything over here, or the steam power press, everything else was pretty easy. So once it's irrigated, you can start making blocks of ice. Blocks of ice can be used to make the ice slushy stuff, which cools you down and it's like drinking water too. But it works like a fridge. Got 150 slots. Pretty good. And it works like a fridge. So, the Hydro Planter. This is a little bit different than your normal crop plots. So, I'm not going to say this replaces crop plots entirely because this thing doesn't make everything. So, you're still going to want crop plots for like your specialty, like plant X, Y, Z. You're still going to want it for if you want like the basic berries. If you want those, you're still going to have to make regular crop plots. But this thing will make narco berries, measure berries, and the 4 regular vegetables. You have to use its own section of fertilizer and its own section of fertilizer and potting soil in order to do it. But essentially, once you create the fertilizer, you take the fertilizer and you take the seed of whatever you're trying to make. Like you can see right here, I have long grass going. So if I have that and long grass in here, I go over to the long grass icon. Well, I need rich soil, sorry. So to make the rich soil, you need fiber, and then you also need this fertilizer. I actually have some in here. There we go. So it'll start making rich soil for me. So in the rich soil, I can turn, and it auto makes it unless you tell it not to. But now it's using the rich soil because it's irrigated. It's using that, and all I need is the seeds for it. As long as the seeds for that item are in its inventory, I can sit there and just craft. Like right now, I'm crafting long grass. It's a little bit easier now because you don't necessarily need a bunch of crop plots. I mean, 1 or 2 of these, and I think you're pretty much set. As long as you don't need a whole lot of them. And you can see that's making like 15 at a time because these 3 were at 99. So it makes a decent amount. And the spoil timers on them is pretty good too. I don't think I changed the settings on the server. And that's almost over with. So this one's full and it's at 4 hours. So pretty solid. Coal stove. It's a stove. It cooks meats. That's pretty much what it does. It's a better turnover rate with prime meat, I noticed. I don't know if that was on purpose or maybe it's just me, but when I throw prime meat in here, it turns into 2 cooked prime meat, which is pretty awesome. Other than that, it works just like a regular stove does. It looks different. That's pretty much it. I like how a lot of this has motion too, how it fires up and actually has the coal going inside of it. This guy, when it's running, you can see like the misters coming on and off of it. You can see the mister coming out of the back of the icebox. This is your industrial smoker. This thing is essentially here to make jerky. So you can still make all your jerkies in here. The other cool thing about the industrial smoker is it will preserve organic polymer. You can throw organic polymer in here and it extends the lifetime of it. Also works on corrupted nodules from the extinction map as well. The egg incubator, this one's pretty cool too. It runs on steam. This is one of the ones I was talking about that needs steam to run. So you throw steam in here, you throw a fertilized egg in here, and it will fertilize it very much like the S+, like the little dodo nest does it. You know, it trickles it down to 1, and then you can just pull it out and hatch it. It does the same thing. It just looks different. Obviously, this is a little bit bigger, but that's it. And it doesn't pick anything up by itself. You actually have to put the egg in there. This is the meat spoiler. It's a pretty cool little option. You can just throw regular meat in here, any sort of meat, and it will break it down into spoiled meat for you. The planting station is where you can make a lot of the different fertilizers. You can also make a couple different potted plants in here. And there's 2 regular plants that you'll find throughout. Once you have this mod installed, if you're out just grabbing berries, you're going to pick up vinca plants and you're going to pick up fern plants. Now, for whatever reason, you can plant them. They grow up, but I think it's decorative at this point. I don't know, unless I'm missing something. And I very well could be, so if you're reading this and I'm wrong, please correct the hell out of me reading it. If you're watching this, please correct me. Other than decorative, I don't really see a difference. It's just there are just a couple of extra plants that you can add. Alright, so moving over into the crafty area. So start with this guy, the Steam Tannery. This makes leather for you. So you throw hide in there while there's coal in there, and it generates things into leather. You need leather to make some of the extra items. You also need it to make some of the armors in here as well. Speaking of the Steam Workshop, this is kind of like your smithy. This is going to make all the core stuff that you're going to need to make just about anything steampunk related. This is where you're going to make most of it at. A lot of your buildings, your weapons, your armor, all of it's going to be here. Well, about 80% of it, I'd say. Going over, so there's a couple different types of forges. You have the Blast Forge, which is the first one you're going to unlock, which I think looks the coolest, honestly. I think it looks neat. It's got like all the little moving parts to it. I like it. A lot of time and thought went into this mod, clearly, and it shows. So you'll be able to make a lot of different things out of here. You can make coal, you can make glass panels, you can make metal, and you can make copper, you can make rough diamonds, and you can make smelted copper ore. So a lot of the resources you're going to run into require glass panels, they're going to require rough diamonds, they're going to require coal, they're going to require copper. So a lot of that stuff is just mining differently. So to make rough diamonds, you just need to throw obsidian along with coal stone in here to make rough diamonds. To make glass panels, you just need to throw crystals in there. To get coal, you just need to toss wood in some of this stuff and burn it down, and it'll turn it into coal. To make smelted copper ore, you need metal and coal and stone to create copper ore. That's how you do it. Now, I think certain maps, like Crystal Isles, actually, if you're familiar with the map, actually have copper nodes on the map. Most maps don't, so you're going to have to do a lot of metal harvesting to be able to turn the metal into copper. From there, you'll be able to turn the copper ore into actual copper plates to be able to use to make a lot of this stuff. I'm going to skip this guy just for a second to show you this one. This is the Industrial Copper Forge. This is kind of the next stage up. The big difference is it does the copper plates a lot faster. So, you know, glass panel, copper, you make copper plates. It makes it a lot faster. However, it doesn't make coal as fast. So the original one, they all kind of serve a purpose, I think. This also allows you to make refined oil. Refined oil is used to power some of the higher end stuff later on. And in combination, make some of the oil barrels that was like running the steam pot. This big obnoxious guy is the multi-forge. So this works a little bit different. It needs electricity to power, but you can cycle this thing once you turn it on. Start loading systems, blah 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 blah, and you can cycle it and tell it what to build. So it's only going to make one thing at a time, and it'll tell you what you need. If you're trying to make coal, you need wood. It'll tell you what you need. But it makes it, and it makes it fast as hell. So this is kind of like the end-all be-all. Has a lot of slots, as you can see, 750. And it will make a lot of it fast, but it only makes one thing at a time. So, I mean, if you have the room in your base, obviously make a bunch of these at the end port of this mod, but because you can have multiples running at the same time. Scooching around. This is the copper grinder. Now, this is another one of my favorite ones in this one for a lot of reasons. I'm gonna turn that off because it's bothering the hell out of me. The copper grinder. So the copper grinder grinds things down, but then it can also work as a chemistry bench. So yeah, you can get thatch, and you can get flint, but it also works as a chemistry bench. You can make all the stuff that you can normally make out of a chemistry bench on this guy. Your narcotics, your stimulants, all that stuff is here, as well as propellant, spark powder, gunpowder, cementing paste, that's all there as well. So it's kind of a chem bench slash grinder, a regular grinder mashed together. So if you're familiar with the S Plus mod, the S Plus grinder, it doesn't do all the things that the S Plus grinder does. So if you're looking for those things, you're going to have to make both. The other nifty thing about it is this piece that gets added on, the power recycler. Now it's really just from, you know, where the circle is at over that clips to the end of this, and you have to have it clipped to the end of it. But with the power recycler, you can throw anything in here and it gives you the resources, all the resources back it took to craft it. So if I throw these boots in here and recycle them, it'll tell me it's going to give me 8 metal, 6 hide, and 4 fiber. And with standard settings on here, I can almost guarantee you, but oh, here we go. Yep, bam, 4 fiber, really? 4 fiber, 6 hide, 8 metal. So it gives you the exact resources back, which might not seem like a big deal, but once you start going around to a lot of drops that don't have stuff in them that you want to keep, you can always keep that stuff and throw it back in here. Also, this also works with text structures. You get element back by throwing them in this thing. So very, 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 very useful. The electric steam workshop, this guy makes a lot of your lighting, anything that most of your lights. It makes the copper floors that light up, it makes the copper signs, it makes the one wall that has the gears on one side, the lights on the other. It makes a snow machine, which I did not place because it acts a little buggy sometimes, and I'll explain why. You know, the meat spoiler is in here, some of your electrical cables, electrical signs are in here, and also the impulse turret, which we'll go over later on. The reason why I didn't put the snow machine out, it's kind of cool. It's a little bit, it's smaller than the grinder, but not by a whole lot. You turn it on and it makes it snow inside your area, and you can actually grab snowballs and throw them at you and your tribe mates. The wardrobe bench. This is actually just to make skins for armor for a female character. That's it. That's all it does. That's really it. But it looks so goddamn cool. And again, that's most of this mod. Everything I look at just looks neat. It's really well done, really well put together. Very neat. But that's it. If you're playing a female character and you want, you know, a female skins for it, this is where you go to get them. But that about sums a lot of our crafting stuff up. But we're going to go down here and talk about a couple things down here too. This is your ACs, so copper ACs. They're air conditioners. This is 2 of them. They make a lot of. It doesn't seem healthy at all standing anywhere near these things, but that's how they work. These are steam drill engines. So a reason why I have 2 of them here is because there's 2 different variants that you can make. So the drill engine in and of itself is the same, and you can put these anywhere on the ground. What you change, if you notice, the bits are different. You can have a crystal bit or a metal bit. When you put gunpowder in these things and turn them on, they'll start gathering. Now these guys have been running for a long time, but as you can see, it has a lot of stone, a lot of crystal, and even mushrooms in here. While this one, which was harvesting metal for me, has a little bit of metal and some stone. And you just throw gunpowder in here and you turn them on. Now what happens, you'll notice, you can see the durability show up on these bits. The durability of the bits goes down. So you can either repair the bits or you can just replace the bits. Normally, if I'm playing on a server with these mods, I'll have a storage box nearby them, like a locked storage box, with just the bits tossed in there, and I can just replace them whenever I need to. This is a really cool automated process. If you have a base that you don't have to worry about necessarily being right by crystal. You know what I mean? Plus, it's a heavy resource. You don't always need to fly out and grab it if you have one of these just sitting outside your base. You can also make a crap ton of these. There's nothing stopping you from how many of these things you can make. Metal's the same thing. You know, it's pretty nice to be able to not have to go metal harvesting when you can just walk out to your backyard and have it too. So it makes choices for bases a little bit easier as far as location goes. This is another multi-forge, but it has a cool attachment on the back that I wanted to show you. And that is that little screen and this part. This is the Dino Grabber. So the Dino Grabber will grab the items off a dinosaur, off a tame that hits it, and pull it into there. So this snaps to just about any of those structures that I've already shown you, and it pulls the items and puts them inside of there. So let's talk about this cool guy. Normal Anklo. He's been busy as well, apparently. Normal Anklo has a cool new saddle. This is the shock armor saddle. Gives him a little bit better defense, obviously, but primarily this thing works as a forge as well. You can see it can make metal, it can make copper, it can make oil, it can make plates, it can make panels, it can can make all that stuff. So you can take it back out here. And boop, it still harvests all the normal stuff that it harvests. Nothing on there's changed. But anyway, you'll notice, alright, so now I got flint, metal, and stone in my inventory, right? So let me go up to this guy. Go into the dino grabber and smack it. And all that stuff is gone. There we go, I had to hit it again. Now the metal's gone, so his inventory's empty. Doesn't do any damage to what it's hitting, it doesn't do any of that stuff. But if I go back into the Steamforge inventory, it pulled it all in there. So this is very useful. Be able to just drive by and unload and go right back out again. Very useful. Very useful. Now the shock proxy on top of this guy, that shock mode to enable in the forge is actually turned off and on with a Q on the keyboard. If you notice, like I can disable it, I can turn it on and off, and it actually does like a shock, like tases stuff too, which is pretty neat. If you notice that when the shock mode's enabled, yep, it actually shoots lightning bolts at people. This thing is hilarious. So your Anklo is in very, very safe hands with this mod. So the saddle again works as a forge, and it also works as kind of a electric defense as well. Teleporter. This is another super useful one. This would be another one I would recommend even if you don't like the steampunk sort of stuff. It's kind of a personal teleporter. So you place one of these here, you place one of these at your buddy's base or your tribe mate's base, your alliance's base, and you can beam in and out of there with all your inventory. Everything that's on your inventory will beam with you, and you can just go back and forth. If you have multiple of these throughout the map, you can just rename them all and fast travel back and forth. Take all your whole inventory with you and everything. While we're here, let's talk about it. The hot air balloon. All right, so this guy runs on crude oil on the barrels. You can jump inside of this thing, and I can fly him around. You can see he's not terribly fast. Now there's two different types of balloons if you notice. There's this little one, and you see that bigger one out in the distance. Now if you notice with this guy, the only thing I can upgrade is his weight and his movement speed. That's it. So pay close attention to that. And I just jumped out of it like an idiot. But you can turn it on and off with the O key, much like the Steambot, and they're considered tame, so you can cryopod them as well. So let's go back out to this big guy, this hot air balloon. Let's grab him and take him back. I'll show you the water goodies later on. We got a couple more things to go over. So the same thing, it looks a little bit bigger. This one you can only upgrade its weight on, but it has more carry weight, which is pretty nice when you think about it. You don't have to feed it, you don't have to do any of that stuff. And if you hop off while this thing's not moving, you can actually walk around up here. It's kind of hard to see over the edge, but most of the time you can kind of jump onto the lip if you're careful, and you can see around. So in theory, you can tame stuff from this too. So that's a lot of the structures. We have a couple more to go over around this side and on the other side of that Behemoth Gate. So gazebos. Interesting. They're decorative pieces. That's pretty much all they are. The floor is the same as you can see. The floor is the same. So it's a three-part. You have the floor, you have the railings going on the top, and then you have the roof. If you notice, the only thing different is the roof. That's really all there is right now. The two different roof pieces are what you have. And again, this is building. It's just aesthetics. It looks cool. You can build inside of it. You can do cool stuff, but that's pretty much what these things do. There's an organ to kind of complement the drum set. To complement the drum set. But it's a hell of a lot bigger too. A hell of a lot bigger. Going up here, this is the cliff platform, what we're looking down on. That's a steam cliff platform. There is a tree stand as well. I figured as long as I have one of these out, I could show you the style is the same. It's pretty much just where they go is a little bit different. And now we're going to work from this way over. So this whole structure in my shot right now is the construction yard. This is where you're going to be making things like the Steambot, where you're going to be making things like the balloons, where you're going to be making some of the higher end crafting stuff, and some of the big stuff that I'm going to show you here in a little bit. This is where it all gets made at. You can go up to this little bench. It's powered by oil or gas, and you can make everything in here. Very big piece of crafting material, but you're gonna need it if you're gonna make any of the big stuff later on. To include, like I said, the Rhino that I showed you, the Steambot that I showed you, hot air balloons that I showed you, Christmas tree, the Steampunk Christmas tree. The other one is presents. You can make presents, and when you make them and place them, they fill with a couple of skins and little things that you can hand out. The tree is powered by oil, I think. Yep. And when you turn this thing on, it'll start singing Christmas carols.
We wish you a Merry Christmas.
It's fun to hear the first time, but a certain guy named Raptor has a bad habit of running into your base and turning this thing on every time he sees it. It's already driving me crazy listening to it. The steampunk little wreath, this is just attached to that bubbling pillar I showed you earlier, just so you can see the wreath. So backing up, these are your two big base defenses. You have the Tesla Tower, and you have the impulse turret. Now the impulse turret, you have to make separate ammunition for. I'll be honest, I'm not a fan of this turret. It looks cool. I think it has its uses somewhere, but I think for my playstyle, it doesn't necessarily work with me very much. It does non-lethal rounds. It doesn't actually kill anything. It just knocks them back. That's all it does. It knocks creatures back. It stops them for a second or two, but it doesn't actually do any damage. I guess depending on where your base is, especially if you're on a mountain. Like if you're up somewhere high or by a cliff, makes complete sense to me. Knock the stuff off the cliff, you don't have to worry about killing it. I get it. That makes sense to me. At the end of the day, that's probably more ammo efficient. But if you're not in an environment like that, I feel like, really, you're just going to be wasting ammo. You're just going to be knocking this thing back unless you got something to back it up with. This obnoxious sucker, I would absolutely run. So when you first place it, it's only going to be about that tall when it's unpowered. When you turn it on, boop. Now, it's customizable just like regular turrets are, so you can choose, long, short, medium distance. You can tell it to target wild creatures, animals, tames, other players, blah, 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 blah. And it will do that. Now, the more of these you have near each other, they will link up to each other and fire, increasing the output of the damage that gets put out. So having a lot of these is very efficient and very, very lethal. And they have a really good line of sight because I think they sit so high, and I think their line of sight is actually from the top, really. Now, the thing that I've noticed with this, and I'm going to pick this one up so that I can show you. When you place these guys, you can place them on flat surfaces, or you can place them on things that are sideways. Or you can place them underneath of things as well. So if you're high up in a tree stand, overlooking something, on top of something. These clip to just about anything. Walls. They clip the walls. They even clip to, if we go all the way down here by the slope roofs, they clip to the roofs as well. So you can place these things almost anywhere to get the perfect side arc that you're looking for. If you've liked what you've seen so far, please don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment. We're going to be starting a playlist involving a lot of Ark mods, probably a couple for some other games that we play as well. Starting primarily with Ark. But if there's mods that you want to see a review done for, maybe a specific part of it, or whatever the case is, shoot me a comment on there. Let me know. We're always looking for what people want to see and what people want to view. So we have a couple of mods that we want to push out, but absolutely want to keep our ears open to other mods as well. But that's most of the building stuff in a nutshell. That's pretty much Steampunk in a nutshell, with the exception of a couple more things that we're going to go over that we saved for the last. So before we get into the big stuff, there's a couple things there are a couple of armors and weapons that we wanted to go over. Now, the Steampunk armor, never mind the random crap that I have in here. The Steampunk helmet, chest piece, pants, gloves, gauntlets. So the headpiece gives you clearer vision under the water. So if I got in the water, the vision's so much better. I can see what's going on so much better down here, right? So it's not quite as good as my scuba goggles, but I also don't have the tunnel vision that you normally do. Like, my peripheral's still there for the most part. The other thing, your oxygen very, very, very slowly goes down while you're underwater. So again, it's not a scuba tank, but it does last a pretty long time. Your chest piece increases your carry weight, so your natural carry weight's going to go up. Now, of course, mine's maxed out because I'm in game creative mode, so that's why you see my weight maxed out, but it will add more to your weight. Pants that you have will make it adds to your hypothermal, and standard armor protection. Your boots are actually going to give you a speed increase. speed increase, as well as, you still have the elemental thing. Your gloves are also going to have a damage resistance stacked on top of it as well. So combine them all together, you're going to get some pretty cool buffs out of this. The other thing to note about these armors, which I thought was really neat, is that when you craft them out of the Steam workstation, they won't necessarily come out as primitive. I've crafted these and they've come out as ramshackle. They've come across as journeyman. They've came out as ascendant. Like, they craft that way, and it seems that your crafting skill is based on it, but sometimes, man, it just seems like it's wild chance sometimes. But there's a really shady way to do things, and as much as I'm reluctant to tell you, I'm going to tell you. So let's say you make an armor piece out of the Steam workstation, right? You spend all the resources, it only gives you a primitive set of boots. You're like, man, this sucks, I only got primitive. Well, you can take those boots, go over to the power recycler that we talked about, slam it in there, get all of your resources back, not just half of them, but all of them, go right back to the Steam workshop again and craft it again. So essentially you have infinite chances to get ascendant gear. Now, I don't know if that was done on purpose. I don't know if maybe there was a reason behind it, or maybe this is an oversight. That part was kind of iffy to me. I wasn't sure about that. Maybe it's a server setting we had running at the time, but the last server we had, somebody discovered that, and I think everyone exploited that one. But I mean, I like the option of crafting the stuff from the workshop. I just think that maybe the recycler needs to tune what it gives you full resources back to and what it doesn't. That's all. So that's the armor. So we can go over a couple of the weapons. So you have your melee weapons. We have a hammer. We have a sword. And we have one of my favorites, this copper crossbow. Now, it runs on copper arrows, or another arrow that I'll show you here in a minute. So your copper arrows. Now normally this is and this will shoot other arrows too, but they'll only shoot them one at a time. The copper arrow is more like kind of like a drum mag of arrows. That's automatic. You just hold the trigger in. I'm just firing arrows. That's how this is going. Does a lot of damage, and it does it fast. It's automatic. Now again, you're not seeing my ammo trick down because I am in game creative mode. It's just gonna act like I have infinite ammo on. Or actually, I think I had leave me alone on just so you guys don't get disturbed while we're trying to do this stuff. And I don't like Troodons, so I always go out of my way to kill Troodons. So the other arrows that you get are called they're called copper hook arrows. It's like shooting a grappling hook, but it hits the dino and then attaches to the ground. It's pretty much what it does. Up to this guy and hit him. And see? There's an anchor on the ground and then an anchor to him. Now, again, I have leave me alone on, so he's not even detecting that I'm here. And I can sit here and fire him all day long. I'll fire one at that Canopy because it's funny. I don't really have any other reason besides that. Funny. It's also funny. But anyway, you'll see him, and you see him starting to break away too. They'll break off. They only wear a certain amount of time. But what this thing is doing is, as the dinosaur moves, which I said actually having leave me alone on so he doesn't detect me is actually hurtful for me because he's not moving. Bam, knocks out. So when the dinosaur moves, when the creature moves, its torpor increases while you have those things stuck in. I wouldn't say tame a creature solely on the hook arrows, but as a backup, I would say absolutely. The last really two big things we have to go over, one is substantially bigger than the other. The Steampunk Submarine. I like this thing. Alright, so this, again, is treated like a tame. You level it up. You can level up its health. You can level up its melee, its movement speed, and its weight. It runs on crude oil, and it swims. It swims fast. It's very agile. Yeah, it's about the size of, it's like a lean Dunkleo, right? So it's about as long as a Dunkleo, but definitely not as wide. And it looks awesome. The little tail moves. It's amazing. It's amazing. You can turn it off and on with the O key. It's off now. It's not conserving it. It's treated like a tame. You can cryopod this guy. Last, but surely as hell not least, is the Steam Airship. This is all one thing. It's all one structure. You make it inside of the construction yard that I showed you guys earlier. You can build on this. You can build inside of it. You can fly it. Yeah. So let's go over the exterior real quick as far as building. You can build just about anywhere on this top deck out to about right about this area here. At least with the regular settings on. I think you have to change it up to be able to build elsewhere. Down the steps, you have the downstairs area. You can build anywhere down here. So you got plenty of room to build. This is a base. You build a base on this thing, really. I think that's probably the smartest thing to do. You have the little balconies running around that you can build on top of as well. Up the stairs, we cut in. You have like a little room in here you can build in. And then here is where your main controls are happening at. I'm riding it. Now it's glowing red. I think it's because its health never came back up. Not sure what's going on there. Let's turn it on. That's what's going on. I guess it's off for a certain amount of time. I don't know. That was weird. Maybe I changed server settings a little while back and didn't pay attention to it. This is the airship, and once you turn it on, you can see the propellers start moving around, the fumes start coming out of the pipes. You can fly this guy around. Now he's slow as dirt. I mean, obviously, this is it. This is as fast as you're gonna go. So you're not that's as fast as you're gonna go. So you're not taking this thing for speed. You're not. You're taking it because it's obnoxious. It can carry your whole base and then some on top of it. Does have a hit point option. It will level up. You can level up its health and level up its weight. That's it. It's huge. It really is. It's almost too big. I think it really depends on the map that you're playing on, I think, and how populated it is. But this is pretty damn impressive, is what this is. Somebody put a lot of work into this, and it shows. Wow. I would love to see something between like this guy and the balloons, maybe like a Zeppelin sort of looked like a steampunk Zeppelin. I think that'd be kind of neat. But that wraps everything up. That pretty much that we can go over for the Steampunk mod. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this. I hope it clarified some things, answered some questions you might have. I dare you to try it. If you haven't already tried it, I dare you to try it. If you're running a server or you're playing on a friend's server, point them in the direction. Check this out. I'm going to be throwing the links for the mod in the description of the video, so you have quick access to that. They have their own. They have the workshop mod, the workshop link on the Steam Workshop. But then they also have their own website that does a lot of explaining. They have a couple of other mods that they're working on as well. One is an additional set mod, that the Steampunk additional set, which just adds a little bit of creature features to the already Steampunk mod. It's just a kind of a tweaking, a couple of additions in there. That are pretty neat, very small from my understanding. Clockworks Creatures is another one. You definitely want to check that out. If you like something like the Rhino or the Steambot, check Clockworks Creatures out. I think you guys would be very, very happy with that. We'll throw all those links. I'll grab all those links and make sure they're in the description of the video. If you guys have any questions, you can always register those. But again, as always, let me know what you guys think. If you like it, great. Let me know. If you hate it, tell me why you hate it. Don't tell me it just sucks. Tell me why it sucks. I need to learn here just as much as you guys do. And again, if there's another mod you all want to see on here, please don't hesitate to tell me, so that we can get to work on it. But yeah, that about wraps it all up. Thank you guys for hanging out. Don't forget to leave a like, maybe leave a subscribe, and see you on the next one.